YummySounds.com layout track.
So today, let's begin with fractions and meaning of represented.
Fractions are a part in a whole. For example, 1 by 2, 2 by 4, 3 by 2, 1 by 1. You can use fractions to represent the part you have in whole. Example, I have 1/6 of the cake. So, have you wondered what the number is written in the fractional format called as? So the number which will be above the line is called as the numerator, and the number which will be below the line is called as the denominator. So a fractional format is not complete without a numerator or a denominator. So we no longer are going to say above the line and below the line. Hereafter it's going to be numerator and denominator, which has been classified. Proper fractions. Example, 2 by 3, 3 by 6, 10 by 180. If you have noticed something here, there is common fractions. There is 2 by 3, 3 by 6, 10 by 180 are common. Do you know why? If you have a clear look, you will find that the numerator is always less than the denominator. So 2 is less than 3, 3 is less than 6, 10 is less than 180. So any fractions which has the numerator which is less than the denominator is called as a proper fraction. So you can represent proper fraction by a diagram. So this diagram is a square divided into two equal parts, and I have shaded one part. That means the fraction of it will be 1 by 2. So 1 is less than the denominator 2. So all that is a proper fraction. Let's move on to improper fractions. So improper fractions. Example, 17 by 12. 500 by 179. So that's a huge number. 6 by 2. So you have something common in all these three. I hope you have figured out by now. It's that all the numerators are greater than the denominators. So 17 is greater than the denominator 12. The numerator 500 is greater than the denominator 179, and the numerator 6 is greater than the denominator 2. So can you represent these improper fractions by a diagram? No, not possible, because any shape you draw, you have to divide it into equal parts so that all the equal parts will represent the shape, will make out a shape. But you can't draw a diagram for improper fractions. So diagram is not possible here. The like fractions. So as you can see, I have written 3 fractions on the board saying 76 by 180, 24 by 180 and 39 by 180. I guess you can spot something. Yes, all the denominators are the same number, 120, 120 and again 120. So why this 120 and what is it related to like fractions? So like fractions mean some fractions, maybe 2 or more, which have the same denominator. It doesn't have to be 120 though, it could be any number, but it's got to be the same denominator in all the fractions. Then in that case, that would become a like fraction. Let's move on to unlike fractions. The unlike fractions. So the fractions given here are 11 by 35, 937 by 62, 2739 by 1567. So all the fractions here are called as unlike fractions. Guess why? The denominators 35, 62 and 1567 are different. Only if all the denominators are same, they are like fractions. Let's move on to addition of fractions. As you can see, I have drawn a square on the board and I have divided it into 4 equal parts. This will be part 1, this will be part 2, this will be part 3, this will be part 4. So in this, I've shaded part 4. So there's something special about this part 4. So you can name this anyway. Even you can name this as 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the thing which is important here is that each square represents 1 in 4. So each square is a 1 in 4 squares in the whole diagram. So even this will represent 1 and this will represent 1 and this will represent 1 and this will represent 1. So we are going to count the special ones. So 3 is a special. What is its value? 1. So the value of it is 1 and the total amount of values of 1 present in this diagram is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 will be the denominator and 1 will be the numerator. So if someone asks you to represent the shaded part in a circle divided into 4, you answer as. So before you're gonna find the answer. So step 1. Check the number of equal parts. So if this is the diagram, you have to check the equal parts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 equal parts. Let's move on to step 2. Step 2. Check the number of shaded parts. So you have to check the amount of shaded parts in the circle which is divided into 4. So this part is shaded. So this is 1 and this is 2. So 2 parts are shaded in a circle which is divided into 4 parts. So the number of shaded parts is the numerator. So the number of shaded parts was 2 as we saw. So the numerator will be 2. The total number of parts will be the denominator. So the total number of parts which was in the circle, that is the number of parts the circle was divided into, will be the denominator. So 4 is the number of parts the circle was divided into. So you answer as 2 by 4. Comparing fractions. If you have two fractions and asked which is greater and which is smaller, what would you answer? Before answering, follow these steps. Comparing fractions. So step 1. Have a look at the denominator of the fractions. Step 2. Check if it's a like or unlike fractions. Step 3. If it's a like fraction, it is easy. You just gotta compare. If it's an unlike fraction, you have to convert it into a like fraction. If it's a like fraction, the numerator which is greater is the greater fraction. So the fractions here are 71 by 83 and 64 by 83. So 71 is the greater numerator. We are calculating the numerator as both the denominators are same and it's a like fraction. So the greater numerator here is 71. So 71 by 83 is greater than 64 by 83. Let's see how to compare an unlike fraction. So how to compare an unlike fraction. So 71 by 42 and 32 by 84 are two fractions which are unlike. So to convert them into like fraction, first we have got to find the LCM. So LCM, I've used successive division method. So 2 into 3 into 7 into 2 is the LCM of 42 and 84. So 2 into 3 into 7 into 2 is equals to 84. So 84 is the LCM. So 71 by 42 into dash equals to dash, and the LCM is at the denominator. So 42 into 2 equals 84. As 2 is here, this 2 should also be used in the numerator section. So 71 into 2 equals to 142. So 84, 32 by 84 is the second fraction, and 32 by 84 into dash equals to dash, and the denominator is the LCM. So 84 into 1 equals to 84, and the 1 used here at the denominator should be carried out to the numerator. So 32 into 1 is 32. So now we've got two like fractions, 142 by 84 and 32 by 84. So which fraction is greater here? It's definitely 142 by 84, because we're comparing 142 and 32. 142 is greater. So 71 by 42, the fraction here is the greater fraction. Let's move on to ascending and descending order of fractions. Addition of like fractions. So we can see that I have written two fractions on the board, saying 25 by 73 plus 19 by 73. So we can identify that these both are like fractions. As I've said earlier, if the denominators are same, they are like fractions. Now how to add these? It's very simple when it comes to like fractions. When it is a like fraction addition, a 2 or 3 number, maybe even 1,000 numbers, you gotta check the denominators. Make sure it's a like fraction. If it is a like fraction, you gotta take the same denominator in all the fractions, that is 73, and this will be the denominator of the answer. But this time, when it is at the numerator, you have to properly add 25 plus 19, which is 35 plus 9 equals to 44. So 44 by 73 is the right answer. Thank you. Let's move on to addition of unlike fractions. So addition of unlike fractions. So 3 by 7 plus 5 by 9. These two fractions are unlike fractions. How are you gonna add them while the denominators are different? So first you're gonna take out the denominators and find the LCM. Do you remember LCM from my last video? I taught you a method to find LCM, that is successive division method. If you haven't watched the video, click the link on the description and watch the first video which has LCM. Okay, so the LCM of the denominators 7 and 9 will be 63. So first you write the fraction. First fraction is 3 by 7. So you write the fraction, and at first it would be like this. You write the fraction, you put a multiplication symbol, you again leave a space for fraction, you put equal to, and you leave a space for fraction, and in the denominator you write the LCM 63. So 3 by 7 is the first fraction and 63 is the LCM. So 7 into what will be 63? 7 into 9 will be 63. So 7 into 9 equals to 63. So as 9 is at the denominator, you have to take out on this numerator also. So 3 nines are 27. Now you got the first fraction, 27 by 63. Let's move on to the second fraction, that is 5 by 9. So 5 by 9 is here. You multiply it, you put a multiplication symbol, you leave a space for fraction, you enter equal to, and you leave a space for fraction, and here you enter the LCM. So 5 by 9 into dash equals to 63, which is the LCM. So 9 sevens are 63. 9 into 7 equals to 63. So 7 would be here. 5 sevens are 35. So now you got two different fractions which are like fractions, 27 by 63 and 35 by 63. You add both the 27 by 63 plus 35 by 63 equals to, the denominator will be 63 as both denominators are 63, and 27 plus 35, it would be 62. Close. You add, you leave the ones here. 20 plus 30 equals to 50. 50 plus 7, 57. 57 plus 5 equals to 62. It's so close, right? Just one is the difference here. So this is how you add an unlike fraction. If you still have any doubts, just watch my full anime video, which will be released in 2 days. And to see more like fractions and unlike fractions addition, you follow the steps in the animation video if you're not cleared with this. Let's move on to subtraction of like fractions. So this is how you do subtraction of like fractions. Any doubts? Let's get more sums in the worksheet as well as my next full anime video. Subtraction of unlike fractions. So 17 by 24 minus 11 by 36. These both are unlike fractions as the denominators are not same. So to convert them into like fractions and subtract them, we have to find the LCM of both the denominators. So to find the LCM, I've used successive division method here, which has been uploaded in the last video. Have a view. So LCM is 2 into 3 into 2 into 2 into 3. that's written here, and that's 72. So 72 is the LCM of 24 and 36. That is the denominators of both the fractions. So I've written the first fraction here, 17 by 24. I've written it here, multiplied by dash equals to dash, and the denominator should be the LCM. So 24 into 3 equals to 72, and as 3 is here, the 3 will be carried on to the numerator, so 17 into 3 would be 51. So next is the 11 by 36 fraction. So the 11 by 36 into dash equals to dash, and the denominator here will be 72 as it's the LCM. So 36 into 2 would be 72, and the 2 would be carried on to the numerator, so 11 into 2 would be 22. So now we have two like fractions to subtract, 51 by 72 and 22 by 72. I've written the fractions here and I found the result. You have to be careful with a step. In addition of one like fraction, at this step we used to add to the fractions, and in this step we are subtracting two fractions. Thank you. So ascending order of fractions. So also ascending order of fractions is dependent on like fractions and unlike fractions. So if it is a like fractions which are two or many, we have to write smaller numerator to bigger numerator. That is, the fraction which has the smaller numerator will be at the beginning, and the fraction which has the bigger numerator will be at the end. Okay, so if it is an unlike fractions in ascending order of fractions, first we have to convert it into a like fraction. Then we have to follow the step we use for like fraction, smaller numerator to bigger numerator. That is, the fraction which has the smaller numerator should be at the beginning, and the fraction which has the bigger numerator should be at the last. Let's get to know more about like fractions ascending order. Let's begin with ascending order of like fractions. So as you can see, there are some fractions written on the board saying 79 by 230, 27 by 230, 46 by 230, and at last 1300 by 230. So all these are like fractions. First you want to make sure it's like fractions, then you move on to the numerators. You see the numerators are 79, 27, 46 and 1300. So we've got to find the smallest numerator, which would be 27. So 27 by 230 is the smallest fraction. Next we have to find the fraction which is greater than this fraction but smaller than another fraction which is greater than that. So that would be 46 by 230. As you can see, other numbers are greater than 46, but the only number which is lesser than 46 is 27. Then we want to move on to the next largest number, which would be 79. 79 by 230 is the next largest fraction. And at last we only have this 1300 by 230. Although it's an improper fraction, it doesn't matter. You gotta check the largest numerator, that's all. So this would be the highest fraction in this number line. So the ascending order of these fractions are 27 by 230, 46 by 230, 79 by 230, 1300 by 230. Now let's move on to ascending order of unlike fractions. Ascending order of unlike fractions. So there are some fractions on the board saying 96 by 75, 11 by 125 and 23 by 50. You see, these all are unlike fractions. So we are going to do a different method to find the ascending order of these. We want to do the LCM for the denominators 75, 125 and 50. To do the LCM, we do the successive division method, which I taught in my last video. So we get the result, the LCM, as the product of 5 into 5 into 3 into 5 into 2, which will be 750. So we first write the first fraction 96 by 75, and then we move on to a multiplication symbol here, and we draw a fractional line, and then we write equal to, and then we write a fractional line, and below here we write the LCM of these, which is 750. Now 96 by 75 into what equals to 750? That is 10. So I write 10 here. As I am multiplying 10 with 75, I must also multiply 10 with this 96 here. So that would become 960 by 750. Then we have the second fraction 11 by 125. So I write it here, I mark a multiplication symbol, again a fractional line, and then equal to, and a fractional line, and the denominator is 750 here, which is the LCM. So 125 into what equals to 750? You will get it as 6. So how to find these 10 and 6 everything? You gotta divide 750 by this denominator, so you would get the result as the quotient. So 125 into 6 equals to 750. As I am multiplying 6 with 125, I must also multiply with 11, which would become 66 by 750. Next we have the fraction 23 by 50, and I write 23 by 50 and a multiplication symbol, a fractional line equals to, again a fractional line, and below I write the LCM, which is 750. So 50 into dash equals to 750, it would be 15. You could do division and find this 15. As I am multiplying 15 with 50, I must also multiply 15 with 23, which would become 345 by 750. So we found some fractions here: 960, 66 and 345. So all these have the denominator same 750, which makes them like fractions. So now first I've got to find the least fraction here, which would be 66. So I write as 66 by 750, and then comma, again I write the second largest fraction here, which would be 345 by 750. So that should be here. And then the largest fraction is 960 by 750, which is also written. Now you can't just leave it like that. So which is 66 by 750? It is 11 by 125. So I write it as 11 by 125 is the smallest fraction, and the next largest fraction would be 345 by 750, which is 23 by 50. So the next largest fraction is 23 by 50, and then at last we have 960 by 750, which we get from 96 by 75. So it is a huge fraction. So this is the ascending order of these unlike fractions: 11 by 125, 23 by 50, and 96 by 75. Let's move on to descending order of like fractions. So descending order of like fractions. there are some fractions on the board which say 93 by 270, 73 by 270, 11 by 270 and 5 by 270. These are all like fractions, so I move on to the numerator. As this is the descending order, it's the exact opposite of the ascending order. I've got to come from the greatest number. So the greatest number here is 93 as the numerator. So 93 by 270 will be the greatest fraction, which will be written at the starting. So the second greatest fraction is the one with the numerator 73. So 73 by 270 is the second greatest fraction and is to be written at the second fractional line. And then we got 11 by 270 and 5 by 270. So 11 by 270 is greater than 5 by 270. So 11 by 270 is the next fraction. And at last we only have one fraction, which is 5 by 270. Now you might be impressed. It's the exact same order given here, but it's always not this case when it is descending order of like fractions. Suppose I write 73 by 270 here and 93 by 270 here. Still the answer won't change because it's the descending order. Let's move on to descending order of unlike fractions. Descending order of unlike fractions. So there are fractions which are 125 by 300, 35 by 75 and 60 by 220. These are all unlike fractions. So first we want to convert them into like fractions, for which we'll do LCM. So the LCM of the denominators 300, 75 and 220 is the product of 5 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 11, which is 3300. So first we got to take the first fraction, which is 125 by 300. I've written it here, and then multiplication mark, and then a fractional line, and then a equal to, and then again a fractional line in which the LCM will be written. So the denominators of 125 by 300 is multiplied with a number to get 3300, which is 11. So as 11 is multiplied with 300, we also multiply it with 125, which will get as 1375 by 3300. So next fraction is 35 by 75, which we multiply by 44 both numerator and denominator to get 1540 by 3300. Next we have the fraction 60 by 220, which is multiplied by 15 both the numerator and denominator, which we get 900 by 3300. So should we just write the smallest number 900 by 3000 first? No, this is the descending order, so we got to come from the greatest number, which is 1540 numerator. So this is 35 by 75, so I've written this here 35 by 75. Next we have the second largest fraction, which is 1375 by 3300, which is a like fraction, and the original fraction of it is 125 by 300, so I've written it here in the second version. And then we have the least number, which is 900 by 3300, which is the original which is just an equivalent fraction of 60 by 220. So it's the last. 60 by 220 is the smallest fraction, which is written at the last. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts, please write it in the comment box. In the next few seconds, I'll be giving you some sums in which you will do for your practice, and I might also introduce to you a new website to you.